Hey guys, it's Penta here. Welcome back to another Heroes of the Storm video. Recently I did a guide on how to use the objectives on Garden of Terror and Dragonshire. I got a lot of positive feedback from that, and a lot of people wanted me to do different maps and explain them in depth. So I'm hoping to pump out these map guides every so often, so make sure you guys subscribe so you can keep up to date with what I'm pushing out. So this video is on Cursed Hollow, which will give you some basic and advanced tips and tricks that you may or may not know about and will definitely help improve your play. So in order to understand a map, we need to understand the camps, the objectives, when we can take them, and the kind of tactical decisions that you have to make to play around these objectives. So for starters, we have camps on each side of the map. So we have a siege here, a bruiser here, and a boss here. Now these camps are fairly deep in your territory, so if the enemy wants to contest them, they have to overextend very far, and it's quite obvious that they're doing that because you can see them all rotate to that direction. One thing you should be aware of is that these tributes don't actually provide anything to the team until you've taken 3 of them, which is where the turrets don't attack and the minions are reduced to 1 health, and you can get a lot of push power off that. So taking what I just said into consideration, you don't always have to go for these tributes. If you're behind and the tribute is on the enemy side of the map and you're just not in a position to go for it, then the smarter decision is to just ignore it and not force yourself to become further behind. An acronym that I came up with that will help your Cursed Hollow play is SCRAP. It stands for Soaking, Camping, Rotating, Answering, and Pressuring. It's a good way to play your Cursed Hollow game by, and if everyone is on the same page using the acronym SCRAP to think about what kind of plays they'll make, then your team is pretty much a masterpiece. Alright, so now let's break these words down one by one. Now for starters, soaking is extremely important because the early game is all about the race to whoever gets level 10 first and hits that power spike, where they have that extra ability to their disposal. Now, each lane contains the same amount of experience as about 2 or 3 kills prior to level 10, so that means you want to have at least one person in each lane soaking the lane if a tribute isn't up, so that you can keep on that road to level 10. The best way to use camps like Siege or Bruiser is so that they push while a tribute is up, so that the enemy is either forced into sending one to clear the pushing camp, which will result in your team having more people at the tribute to win it over, or they would have to fight out the tribute and risk losing structures to those camps that are pushing forward. Since these tributes spawn around 80 to 120 seconds after the last one was capped, this means that you have quite a big time window to clear these camps on your way back to base or in between team fights, so that for the next tribute, those camps that you have taken will be pushing forward and pressuring the enemy while everyone fights over the tribute. The next point I'd like to talk about is rotating. Rotating is where you change your position on the map in order to achieve something, for example the tribute. So the first tribute of the game is the most fair one as it spawns in the center of the map, either top or bot. Its average spawn time on the clock is about 2 minutes 20, so you always want to be full health around this timer and ready to rotate. If you're not full health and you're quite low on health, then you should save that healing well you have and get someone to hold your lane so that you don't lose on too much experience as you hearth back to base, restore to full health, and then you can save your tap for the teamfight at tribute. Once you see the tribute spawn, you should aim to shove out your lane so you don't miss too much experience and then head towards it. If you don't have time to shove it, then don't worry because you'll be late to the tribute and your team will be down in members, which may decide the fight. The next point is answering, and this is where it starts to get a little bit tricky, so I'll take a dive into pressuring first since they are closely related. Pressuring is simply where you're taking your advantage and using it to get a bigger advantage over the enemy, which is also known as snowballing. This is where you're a snowball, you're rolling down the hill and you keep gathering that snow until you're huge. If you collect 3 tributes in a row, that's a huge advantage, so make sure you push and you don't take camps. You can do that later. If you're level 10 and the enemy's level 8 or 9, then push or try contest an enemy camp. Take advantage of your advantage. You don't want to just wait around and delay and do nothing with your advantage, otherwise your enemy can slowly build their way back up and become equal with you and possibly win a team fight. The second component of pressuring is exposing your enemy's weaknesses. This can be great when attempting to come back when behind in levels. An example of this is if a tribute spawns here, assuming it isn't the 3rd tribute for the enemy team, then you have the entire other side of the map to work with. You could push in a fort, steal their camps, or even go for boss. The reason for making a play like this is because as a team you've agreed that you can't win that fight at the tribute because you're behind in levels, or one of your teammates just got picked, so you're not in a position to contest. but you can still very easily pressure the enemy by taking advantage of their position. So our final point here is answering, and this is the factor that separates the great players from the good players. It's basically what your team does to minimize the effects of the enemy's pressure. It requires quite a lot of game sense, which comes from game time and experience, because you have to predict the enemy's moves and positions on the map accurately. If the enemy has a very strong push comp, for example, and they are shoving in bot extremely hard, then you can do the opposite to minimize your losses. Rotate people to top and try push that down as hard as you can. Another example is if you believe that the enemy is taking their boss or one of their camps and you don't think you can get there in time to prevent that capture, then do your camp so that every action done by your opponent is mirrored in some way by your team in a timely manner. So just remember to keep scrap in your head at all times while playing Cursed Hollow, and try to talk out your plays like a streamer would, because it really helps you concentrate and make sense of what you're doing, and I assure you that you will improve at a rapid rate. Thanks for watching. Let me know what map I should do next in the comments below, and make sure you like, share and subscribe.